Somewhere in the deserts of the Middle East, decisions are being made in quiet rooms that will shape the fate of nations, not with armies marching in daylight, but with silent deals, hidden networks, and weapons that strike from shadows. This is not a war you see on breaking news. It is a war you feel in oil prices, in shifting alliances, in the uneasy silence before the next headline explodes. At the heart of it stands a nation whose strategy is as old as the empires that once walked this land, yet as modern as the drones that circle the skies. It is a game of patience and precision, where one wrong move could ignite the entire region. Tonight, we step inside that game. We uncover the secrets behind a strategy that keeps the Middle East on edge and the world watching. Iran's doctrine of asymmetric warfare is the cornerstone of its modern military strategy, crafted to counter opponents with far greater conventional military power. Recognizing that it cannot match the technological sophistication and vast resources of countries like the United States or Israel in traditional warfare, Iran has developed a system of unconventional tactics designed to offset these disadvantages. This approach focuses on mobility, unpredictability, and the use of diverse, low-cost, yet highly effective tools that can exploit vulnerabilities in an adversary's defenses. By avoiding direct, large-scale battles where it would be outgunned, Iran preserves its forces while still exerting pressure on its enemies. One of the central elements of this doctrine is the use of mobile missile systems that can be hidden, quickly deployed, and fired from different locations to evade detection and retaliation. This makes it difficult for opponents to neutralize Iran's offensive capabilities in a single strike. Alongside missiles, Iran has heavily invested in drones, ranging from small surveillance models to advanced armed systems capable of striking targets deep inside enemy territory. Drones are inexpensive compared to manned aircraft and can be produced domestically, giving Iran a sustainable and flexible strike capability. Cyber warfare is another crucial tool in Iran's asymmetric arsenal. Through state-backed cyber units, Iran can disrupt critical infrastructure, gather intelligence, and influence political narratives without deploying a single soldier. These operations provide strategic impact while maintaining plausible deniability, reducing the risk of direct retaliation. Combined with electronic warfare and information campaigns, Iran's strategy blends military and psychological pressure to weaken opponents' resolve over time. Additionally, Iran leverages its geography and local knowledge to make large-scale invasions costly and impractical for potential aggressors. Mountainous terrain, vast deserts, and complex urban environments provide natural defensive advantages that fit well with guerrilla-style tactics and dispersed operations. This makes Iran a challenging target for any conventional military campaign. The doctrine of asymmetric warfare also complements Iran's broader geopolitical strategy. By keeping conflicts in the gray zone, below the threshold of all-out war, Iran can continuously challenge its adversaries while avoiding the risks of a full-scale confrontation it might lose. This calculated use of indirect pressure ensures that Iran remains a significant player in the Middle East's security landscape, forcing both regional and global powers to factor its unconventional capabilities into their strategic planning. Through this doctrine, Iran has transformed its relative military limitations into a resilient and adaptive form of deterrence that continues to shape the balance of power in the region. Iran's strategic use of proxy forces is one of the most defining and effective elements of its military and geopolitical approach in the Middle East. Instead of relying solely on direct military intervention, Iran extends its influence by supporting, training, and arming groups that share its strategic goals or ideological alignment. These proxies allow Tehran to project power far beyond its borders without committing large numbers of its own troops, reducing the risk of direct confrontation with powerful adversaries, while still shaping events across the region. This network includes well-established organizations such as Hezbollah in Lebanon various Shia militias in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, and Palestinian factions like Islamic Jihad, each operating in different arenas but contributing to Iran's broader regional objectives. Through these alliances, Iran creates multiple fronts that can be activated in response to threats or opportunities, forcing its adversaries to divide their attention and resources. Hezbollah, for instance, serves as both a deterrent and an offensive tool against Israel, possessing a significant arsenal of rockets and battle-hardened fighters. In Iraq, Iran-Ba'ath militias exert political and military influence, sometimes targeting U.S. and coalition forces, thereby pressuring foreign presence in the region. In Yemen, support for the Houthis enables Iran to indirectly threaten Saudi Arabia and disrupt key maritime routes like the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, amplifying its leverage in regional politics. This proxy strategy also provides Iran with a layer of plausible deniability. When these groups engage in attacks or confrontations, Tehran can publicly distance itself while still benefiting from the strategic consequences. This ambiguity complicates retaliation by opponents, as it is harder to justify direct strikes on Iranian soil in response to actions carried out by affiliated groups. Furthermore, these proxies are deeply embedded in their local contexts, often drawing on sectarian ties and nationalist sentiments, which strengthens their legitimacy and makes them more resilient to external pressure. Training and equipping these forces is part of a long-term investment. Iran's elite Quds Force, a branch of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, plays a central role in cultivating these partnerships by providing advanced weapons, tactical training, and strategic guidance. Over decades, this has created a network of loyal, capable actors who can influence conflicts in Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen, and beyond. By relying on proxies, Iran avoids the high costs and risks of conventional warfare while maintaining the ability to influence multiple conflicts at once. Iran is highly loyal, while the honor costs of war maintain the ability to influence multiple conflicts at once. This approach not only extends its reach, but also ensures that any attack on Iran could trigger retaliatory actions across several fronts, making it a powerful tool in its regional strategy. Iran's investment in ballistic missile and drone development forms a central pillar of its military strategy, providing both a means of deterrence and a cost-secret way to project power across the Middle East, and becoming the largest central investment in the country to the present day and the future. Decades of international sanctions and arms embargoes have forced Iran to build its own indigenous capabilities, leading to an extensive and increasingly sophisticated missile and unmanned aerial vehicle UAV program. Ballistic missiles, with ranges from short to intermediate distances, allow Iran to target regional adversaries, including U.S. bases in the Gulf, Israeli territory, and critical infrastructure in neighboring states. These weapons are seen by Tehran as essential for counterbalancing the superior air power of countries like Israel and the United States, giving Iran a retaliatory option should it come under attack. Iran has worked to enhance the mobility, precision, and survivability of its missile systems. Mobile launchers enable rapid deployment and relocation, making them harder for opponents to detect and destroy. In addition, advancements in guidance technology have improved the accuracy of Iran's missiles, allowing them to strike high-value targets with greater precision. This precision strike capability increases the credibility of Iran's deterrence, as adversaries know that retaliation could be both swift and effective. Alongside missiles, Iran has rapidly expanded its drone program, producing a range of UAVs for reconnaissance, electronic warfare, and precision strikes. Drones offer unique advantages in modern conflict. They are relatively inexpensive, can loiter over targets for extended periods, and carry out missions without risking pilot lives. Iran's drones have been used extensively in regional conflicts, either directly or through proxy forces, to attack military installations, oil infrastructure, and shipping vessels. Their use in asymmetric warfare has allowed Iran and its allies to bypass traditional defense systems and carry out operations that can disrupt an opponent's strategic calculations. These programs also serve a political and psychological function. One of the most effective and profitable means for disarming authoritarians is to invoke their obstinacy, and the regular unveiling of new missile and drone models is used domestically to project strength and resilience in the face of foreign pressure, while internationally, it signals to adversaries that Iran's military capabilities are continually advancing despite sanctions. Moreover, the transfer of drone and missile technology to allied groups strengthens Iran's regional network and expands its indirect reach. End quote. End of quote, end quote. By combining missile and drone capabilities, Iran has created a layered strike capacity that can operate across a range of scenarios, from open conflict to covert operations. This integration not only reinforces its deterrence posture, but also ensures it can influence events across the Middle East without relying on conventional military superiority, making it a core element of Tehran's long-term strategic planning. Strategic waterways is a critical component of Iran's military strategy. And at the heart of this lies the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow passage that connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. This waterway is one of the most important maritime choke points in the world, with roughly 1/5 of the world's petroleum passing through it daily. Iran's geographical position gives it a unique ability to influence or disrupt the flow of oil and gas shipments, granting it significant leverage over both regional rivals and global markets. This control acts as a form of strategic deterrence, allowing Iran to signal that any conflict with it could have far-reaching economic consequences beyond the Middle East. Iran's naval strategy in this area is focused on asymmetric tactics designed to offset the superior naval capabilities of the United States and its allies. It has invested heavily in fast attack craft, submarines, naval mines, and shore-based missile systems that could be used to harass or block shipping traffic. In its commission, the two embassy staff current in Dublin are noted for their course. The mere possibility of such disruption has the power to influence diplomatic negotiations and deter military action against Iran, as even a temporary closure of the strait could trigger a sharp spike in global energy prices and destabilize markets. In addition to the Strait of Hormuz, Iran has also sought to extend its influence over other key maritime routes indirectly, particularly through its support of the Houthi movement in Yemen. This position allows Iran to threaten the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, another vital choke point at the southern end of the Red Sea. By having the capacity to impact two major global shipping lanes, Iran increases its strategic depth and complicates the security calculations of its adversaries. And deterrence. Iran frequently uses military drills in these waterways to showcase its readiness and capabilities. These exercises often involve live missile tests, simulated attacks on shipping, and the deployment of new naval technologies. Such displays serve both as a domestic morale boost and as a message to foreign powers that Iran can respond quickly and decisively if provoked. Control over strategic waterways is not just about military capability. It also plays into Iran's broader political strategy. This exercises in making its will known. The ability to threaten global trade routes provides a bargaining chip in international diplomacy, allowing Iran to resist external pressure while pursuing its own security and economic goals. This combination of geographic advantage and naval capability ensures that the control of maritime choke points will remain a central element of Iran's military posture and regional influence for years to come. Iran's military strategy is deeply intertwined with its ideological mission, blending hard power with a narrative rooted in revolutionary and religious principles. Since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, the leadership in Tehran has framed its foreign and defense policy around the concept of resisting Western influence and supporting what it calls the axis of resistance, a coalition of states and non-state actors opposed to U.S. and Israeli presence in the region. This ideological foundation not only shapes Iran's choice of allies and adversaries, but also provides a powerful motivational tool for both its armed forces and the proxy groups it supports. Iran's ideology portrays its military activities as part of a larger struggle for justice and independence against perceived oppression. By embedding this worldview into its strategic thinking, Iran justifies military expansion and intervention as moral obligations rather than acts of aggression. This framing resonates with certain populations in the Middle East, particularly in communities that feel marginalized or threatened by Western-backed governments. The narrative of defending Islam, protecting Shia communities, and standing against imperialism becomes a rallying cry that fosters loyalty among its proxies and allies. Religious symbolism plays a significant role in this integration of ideology and military strategy. The use of historical references, such as the events of Karbala, creates a powerful emotional connection that portrays modern conflicts as extensions of historic battles between justice and tyranny. Military campaigns are often framed as sacred duties, and the sacrifices of fighters are glorified as acts of faith. This ideological reinforcement strengthens morale, making fighters more resilient in prolonged conflicts and more willing to endure hardship. This blend of ideology and strategy also influences Iran's choice of tactics. For example, its support for asymmetric warfare and proxy forces is presented as a righteous form of resistance that empowers oppressed groups without requiring direct state-to-state conflict. Ideology shapes not just who Iran supports, but how it fights, favoring long-term, patient strategies over quick, conventional victories. By uniting military objectives with a larger ideological cause, Iran ensures that its strategic goals are supported by a strong sense of purpose and identity. This makes its influence harder to counter through purely military means, as it is rooted in deeply held beliefs and a shared vision among its network of allies. In the volatile politics of the Middle East, this integration of faith, identity, and force becomes a potent combination, enabling Iran to sustain its regional ambitions even under intense external pressure. Iran's military strategy has far-reaching implications for the stability of the Middle East, influencing not only its immediate neighbors, but also the calculations of global powers with interests in the region. By relying on a mix of conventional capabilities, asymmetric tactics, proxy networks, and ideological influence, Iran maintains a constant presence in the strategic considerations of other states. This persistent influence creates an environment of low-level tension that can flare into open conflict with little warning. Iran, unofficial. Why Iran's forces are fighting fuel, an unofficial assignment, would not be unofficial. Lesson 1. Living in proximity. Cyber Anomaly 15. Progress, whether it's overt or invert. Propulsion, maneuvering, temperature, control, confusion, conflict, conflict, contract, conflation. Control with dysfunction, conflict of interest, control and conflict await. With profit. Skirmishes involving Iranian-backed forces, missile strikes, or naval confrontations in key waterways have the potential to escalate quickly, drawing in regional and international actors. For Gulf states, such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, Iran's military posture represents both a direct threat and a challenge to their own influence. So, what does this mean for our diplomatic and politics and the world's pathway to security and confrontation for the Saudis? Skirmishes involving Iran backed by radio or pyro flights make the Gulf prospects scary, and the resulting conflicts are often missile strikes and mass murder. For Gulf states, such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, various military postures represents a threat confronting race, color, credential, racial constitution, race, culture. These countries respond by strengthening military alliances, purchasing advanced weaponry and increasing security cooperation with the United States and other Western nations. This arms buildup and polarization further heighten the risk of miscalculation, as each side seeks to deter the other while preparing for the possibility of conflict. Israel views Iran's expanding reach, particularly through Hezbollah and other proxies, as an existential security challenge. This perception drives preemptive actions, including airstrikes on Iranian-like targets in Syria and covert operations aimed at slowing Iran's military advancements. Such actions, while intended to prevent larger wars, also carry the risk of triggering the very escalation they are meant to avoid. Global powers, especially the United States, Russia, and China, are also deeply affected by Iran's strategy. The U.S. remains heavily involved in deterring Iranian actions, while Russia and China seek to balance their interests, sometimes cooperating with Iran to counter Western influence. This interplay of external actors complicates the regional security picture, making it more prone to sudden and unpredictable shifts. The constant undercurrent of tension fostered by Iran's strategy affects economic stability as well. Energy markets react sharply to incidents in the Strait of Hormuz or the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, with even minor disruptions causing price spikes. This economic vulnerability adds another layer of global significance to regional disputes, making them more difficult to resolve peacefully. Ultimately, Iran's military approach ensures that the Middle East remains a strategically contested and unstable environment. While it strengthens Iran's position as a key regional player, it also perpetuates a cycle of rivalry, militarization, and proxy conflict that keeps the region on edge and leaves little room for lasting peace. Iran's military strategy is far more than a collection of weapons, alliances, and tactical maneuvers. It is a carefully crafted blend of geography, ideology, unconventional warfare, and calculated deterrence that allows Tehran to wield influence far beyond its borders. From its mastery of asymmetric tactics to the deployment of proxy forces, from the development of advanced missiles and drones to the control of strategic waterways, Iran has built a security framework designed to challenge adversaries and shape the political realities of the Middle East. By intertwining military power with ideological narratives, it has transformed conflicts into causes, fostering loyalty among allies and creating a network of influence that is difficult to dismantle. Yet, while this strategy secures Iran's position as a key regional power, it also fuels the cycle of tension and mistrust that defines much of the Middle East today. The implications are global, touching energy markets, international diplomacy, and the delicate balance between war and peace. Understanding this strategy is essential, not only to grasp Iran's intentions, but to navigate the complex web of alliances and rivalries that make the region one of the most volatile arenas on Earth. I wish you the very best in sharing this message with the world. May your delivery carry both clarity and impact, helping your audience understand the deeper forces shaping the Middle East today. Thank you for dedicating your time and voice to exploring a topic that demands thoughtful attention, and may your work inspire dialogue, reflection, and a greater pursuit of understanding in a region and a world that needs it now more than ever.